All right, welcome to video number 2. We are playing with our friend Camilla here in buying a house. If you have Excel on the computer that you're watching this on, it may benefit you to kind of maybe pause and go back and forth between that to play with some of the functions. I'm going to write the formulas in here so that you can see what you would type into Excel, and then I'll give you the answer, but you may want to try it on your own just so you understand how it goes into Excel. So in part A, so Camilla wants to buy a $210,000 house. That's what she wants to mortgage. A 30-year fixed, 5.5% interest rate. So in part A, this bank wants 15% down. So no problem, right? We take the cost of the house, multiply by the 15%, and that gives me my down payment of $31,500. And I know it doesn't ask right now, but let's figure out if that's what she's putting down. How much will she have to mortgage? So I think I misspoke earlier. I apologize. So I'm going to take that 210 and I'm going to subtract the 31.5. So she needs to mortgage $178,500. So that's the amount that she will need to mortgage. So typing this into Excel, we need the payment function, right? Because we want to figure out how much she's going to pay. So equals PMT. Now, what is her interest rate? Her interest rate is 0.055, but that's an annual rate. So we need to divide that by 12, comma. That's the first part. Then the next part is how many payments is she going to make? Well, 12 per year times 30 years for the life of the loan, comma. Now, how much is she borrowing? Well, she's going to be in debt, so it's negative 178.5. Notice, no comma in the middle of that big number. We just want the 178.5 all together. So when you type that in, it is going to spit out $1,013.50. And that is Camilla's monthly payment for this particular loan. Now, what about over the lifetime of her loan? Well, if she's paying $1,013.50, 12 months a year for 30 years, that means she will pay a total of $364,860 on this mortgage. That's a lot of money. So when you think about that, okay, that's a lot. Well, what is she paying in interest? So if she paid, right, ending amount that she paid, forgot the 860, and I'm going to take away the amount that she borrowed. So remember, she borrowed 178.5. You end up with an answer, depressingly, of $186,360. She is paying more in interest than she paid for the house over the course of that 30 years. So she could have bought 2 houses with the amount of money that she spent, which is very, very sad. Now, if Camilla would have shopped around, across the street, she could have got a 4.25% interest rate. Well, how does that change things? Well, let's start with our equals PMT, because that figures our monthly payment. So if I've got a smaller rate, divide by 12. I'm still doing 30 years, 12 months in a year, and I'm still borrowing 178.5. So with that, her payment goes down to 878.11. So remember in that last one, her payment was 1013.50. Because with a 5.5% interest rate. So if the only thing we do is change the interest rate to 4.25%, it knocks down her payment by $150. That's extensive. So how much could she have saved over 30 years? Well, this is kind of a multi-step problem. First of all, in 30 years, 12 months in a year, at 878.11, we've got to figure out total how much she's paying for this mortgage. So 30 years in the mortgage, 12 months in a year, $878.11 per month. So she's spending $316,119.60 on this mortgage. All right, well, how much of that was interest? So if I take my $316,119.60 and I subtract the amount that I borrowed, which was the $178.5, the interest amount is $137,619.60. Well, it's definitely better than before. So how much did she save? Well, in terms of interest, in the first loan, she was paying $186,360 in interest, and in the second loan, she was paying $137,619.60 for a difference of $48,740.40. So she could save almost $50,000 over the course of a 30-year loan. I mean, that's over $1,000 a year she could save just by shopping around and getting a better interest rate. So really, it's kind of important that you pay attention, see what's out there. Don't just go with the first bank that offers you a loan. Look around for different interest rates because it can mean, a difference of $50,000. Well, of course, that'll depend on the price of the house, but still, it could be significant in terms of how much you're borrowing. Let's move on to Brian and Jane. So Brian's job was transferred, so their family decided that they needed to move. And they're they found a condo. The condo is $125,000. Trying to see whether a 30-year fixed at 4.25% or a 15-year fixed 3.5% would be better. So obviously, looking at the percentage rates, 15 years got a better percentage rate, but you're also paying your house off in half the time, so the payments would be higher because of that. So we want to compare and see which one, or can they afford both of these. So, question A. Determine the monthly mortgage payment if Brian chooses the 30-year. Well, okay, so 30-year, we're going to use the payment, right? Again in Excel, payment. What is the rate for the 30-year? 0.0425. Divide by 12. In 30 years, 12 months in a year, 30 years in the loan, and he wants to borrow $125,000. So if he does that, and I shouldn't say he, I should say they, because this is a family deal, they're going to pay $614.92 per month, right? And that's not horrible. So that's that's doable. Well, how much are they going to pay total in the 30 years? Well, you get your monthly payment, 12 months in a year, 30 years in this loan. They're going to pay a total of $221,371.20. So there's the total. And that seems, it's an extra about $100,000 they're going to pay. Well, let's compare that to the 15-year. So using the equals PMT function, now the rate for the 15 years is 0.035. Again, divide by 12. 12 months in a year. This loan is 15 years. So 15 years, we are still borrowing $125,000. So if you type that into Excel, you will come up with a monthly payment of $893.60. So for an extra $280 a month, you will pay off your house in half the time, right? Which might, if you can afford that, that's fantastic because you're going to save yourself money in the long run, right? It's going to cost you more per month, but over the course of the mortgage, you're good. So $893.60 per month, 12 months in a year, 15 years in the mortgage. So when I multiply those together, what's his name? Brian and his family will pay $160,848 over the life of the loan. So we're comparing, right? Mortgage number one, total cost was $221,371.20. The monthly payment was $614.92. And the other one overall was $160,848 with monthly payments of $893.60. So you can see that the first loan, the 30-year, has the smaller monthly payment, but the overall cost is way lower if you do the 15-year loan. So if you can afford the 15-year loan, why might it be better? Well, you're saving $60,000 in interest, which I think is pretty significant, especially if they talk about Brian and Jane have kids in those 15 years. They may be working on paying college, and they're going to need that $60,000 to pay college costs. So I believe that is the end of video number 2.